Hello and welcome to another episode of Casting Reflections on Black Mirror, the podcast that takes an episode of Black Mirror and, as it says, cast views. Your hosts for this are me, Dan.
And me, also Dan.
Hi, also Dan.
Hi.
How are you doing, firstly? We're recording this on a week of particularly crappy weather, aren't we?
Yes, has been rained every day. I've been in London this week and have got drenched a couple of times walking from a train station to the office, which has been lovely. Yeah, it's meant to be wet this weekend as well. So, yeah,
It's just raining non-stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not been pleasant.
You know, I've mentioned this walk-in challenge I've done. I've started at work. We're a week left this week. I've literally haven't walked for about 5 days. I've literally recorded like 100 steps a day or something. So yeah, I'm not really keeping up my end of the bargain there. But weather aside, I think I mentioned in the last episode, but I said we have skipped. If anyone's sort of following this chronologically, we are not doing Bandersnatch at the moment. We're carrying on with the series and we'll probably do Bandersnatch at the end. So we are now on season 5, episode 1. This is Striking Vipers, written by Charlie Brooker and directed by Owen Harris. Now, he has done 2 previous Black Mirror episodes, so I pointed this out to see if we get any vibe as we're going through it or if we look back. But he directed Be Right Back and San Junipero.
Okay.
Dropped on Netflix on the 5th of June 2019, and I was looking at this because I've got it on the board here, and I realised that this series has only got 3 episodes in, whereas the rest have usually got 6. And I think I saw it's because Charlie Brooker didn't want people to wait too long for a series, so did 3 episodes, which I think is quite cool.
I actually remember it because I remember this series coming out because I watched them all in the same evening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I watched them all. So this is the series. I think I'd kind of started watching Black Mirror a couple of months before this series dropped. So I kind of watched all the episodes. And this is the first series I kind of watched along with it being released and not retrospectively. So I remember watching all 3 episodes in the same night and was disappointed it was only 3 episodes long.
Do you know what? I think I'm the same. I think this was the first series I would have seen, real time, as it were. And it's funny, isn't it? How I wonder if it was because of when it came on Netflix or how Netflix displays things. I don't know. It's an odd one. It's odd because I know yourself and I mentioned another podcast both started with USS Callister. So it's funny. It's funny how I wonder how Netflix, the algorithm, the magic algorithm. You're going to take lead on this, but it stars a number of people. And actually, I'll say now, so I found there were 4 links to Marvel and or DC. Now, we always say that this series seems to have quite a few people from the Marvel ones, but there's 1 or 2 obvious ones. So I'm going to assume, did you pick up both of them?
Well, I know that Anthony Mackie plays Falcon as a lead character, but I wouldn't have got any of the other ones.
Okay, so you've got Anthony Mackie as Danny Parker. You have got, now, if I'm reading this name right, you've got Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Carl Houghton. Now, he, I believe, is Manta in Aquaman.
Okay.
You have got Pom Klementieff, if I've said that name right, as Roxette. She is Mantis in Guardians.
So she is, yeah. I would never have clocked that. But yeah, I can see it now in retrospect.
And Ludi Lin as Lance, and I believe he is Captain Merc, I think also in Aquaman. I didn't write that down. And other names to call out here. Oh, it's just one really. Nicole Beharie as Theo Parker, who's Danny's wife. So yeah, it's just funny, isn't it? The Marvel/DC link in this. But I'm going to assume, I'm not going to assume 2019. So Anthony Mackie had already been in a number of films. I think this isn't getting them before.
I think at this point, Black Mirror has now become almost famous, hasn't it? And it's getting the stars after they're famous rather than the earlier series where we're getting the stars before they were famous.
Yeah, because the third one has got Miley Cyrus in it.
Correct, yeah.
And then I've still not seen it, but Series 6 has got a whole host of famous people, hasn't it? So
yeah, Josh Hartnett's in it for one.
Salma Hayek, I think we've said.
Salma Hayek, the guy from Breaking Bad, I forget his name.
Yeah, come on. I'll cut a lot of this. Don't worry, I'll cut a lot of the thinking time out, but we've got to get this. It's not Jesse. No, Jesse is...
Jesse's a character name.
Oh, come on, Dan. We could do this.
I don't think I can.
Can you quickly Google? I'm on a new laptop.
Yeah, let me have a look quickly.
Oh, come on. People are screaming at us right now.
Breaking Bad actor. Not Brian Cranks, Aaron Paul.
That's it, of course. Don't worry, by the magic of editing, I'll make it look like we knew that.
Do you want me to say it a bit more like I say it a bit more naturally?
Yeah,
Aaron Paul.
That's exactly it, Dan. Right. So, do you know what? Let's without further ado, I've got some other notes, but we'll do those at the end. But yeah, over to you. Let's talk about Striking Vipers.
So before we start, I will say, out of all the episodes of Black Mirror that I've watched, and I've watched all of them, this is the one that sticks with me the most. And
Really, yeah.
If you ask me, did I enjoy this episode the most? I would say I don't know, but this is the one that stuck with me the most. I think there's a difference between those two things.
Yeah, we'll get into it afterwards, but I think I know what you mean. I don't think it's one of the best episodes for the fact that it does kind of feel slow as it's going. It leaves you with a lot to think about.
Yes, it's that, isn't it?
Yeah, just as I've been thinking about it tonight, there's a few more things that have popped into my mind which I need to write down at some point while we're discussing this so I don't forget them. But yeah.
Okay, let's get going. Okay, cool. So we start off in a nightclub where Danny and Theo are drinking at a bar. It later becomes clear that they're a couple, but it kind of starts off with them role playing, not knowing each other, as if that's something that they do when they were younger. After that little bit of role play, then Carl walks over with a girl, I think. I can't remember if it's with a girl or not. Yeah, with a girl. And it's quite clear the four of them are friends, or at least Cole and Danny are close friends, and Theo is Danny's partner. Then after the night out, they go back to what is Danny, looks like Danny and Cole's flat or apartment, and Theo's staying over. As Danny goes to get food from a fridge, Cole is playing games, and this is the middle of the night now. Cole is playing a game which can only be It's playing Striking Vipers, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a Street Fighter style, Mortal Kombat style.
Yeah, Tekken as well. Yeah, if you play Tekken, it's kind of like that.
So Carl talks Danny into playing a game. They've ended up playing until the early hours of the morning.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. One point they did make out is that they both seem to play as the same characters in the game.
Yeah.
So that Danny is playing as Lance, who is kind of a bit like Ryu, isn't he, from Street Fighter, like a ninja type guy. And then Roxette, who is obviously, I think, is based on Chun-Li. She had that super kick, didn't she? But they keep on playing the same characters. And I think one of them makes a mark. I know you've been her like 20 games in a row now, which just shows how long they've been playing this game. They wake Theo up, and then there's like a little bit of conversation, and then it kind of settles down, and we kind of zoom forward 11 years. Times have changed now. Danny is now a family man. We arrive at kind of a barbecue for Danny's birthday.
But sorry, can I just stop you there? Because I can't remember if he was wearing glasses in the first bit, but they really do make an effort to make him look like, not boring, but like a family man now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They put the glasses on in plain clothing.
I think he's dressed differently. Obviously, the house he's living in is very grown up.
He looks unhappy as well, right?
So they now have family around. And a bit that made me laugh is when he got introduced to that guy. He's obviously just not interested. So who's interested in bikes, and he goes, "Oh, so you like bikes?" And he goes, "Yeah." And that's kind of the end of the conversation, which I thought was good. Which is obviously something you do as you grow up, isn't it? You kind of get introduced to new people. There's lots of kids around. And then Cole turns up, and Cole obviously hasn't quite grown up as much as Danny has in life. So Cole kind of turns up. It seems like it's been a while since they've seen each other. I think they mentioned it's been since the last birthday. But they haven't seen each other. And they kind of claim life gets in the way, as it does. And then things happen and they haven't seen each other. But Cole is definitely not as grown up. He talks about his dating life on online dating. He's showing Danny pictures of the girls he meets on online dating. And it's quite interesting because Danny almost gets a little bit secretive, doesn't he? Because Danny's like, "Oh, I can't see that stuff because I'm grown up." When kind of Theo walks into the room,
because he's also, I think he says it there, they're also always a lot younger than Carl, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. As part of this kind of exchange and you can kind of see that Danny and Cole are Danny's probably more comfortable with Carl than anyone at the barbecue as well. As part of the birthday present, Carl has bought him a game for his birthday, and it is the new edition of Striking Vipers, which obviously takes them back to their. It's probably a bit nostalgic for both of them. Danny claims that he can't play it because he hasn't got the VR set, but no worries, Carl has got the VR set for him. Is there anything you kind of want to mention at this point or chip in with?
I just found it interesting that they're still making this game 11 years later. It's just like FIFA or something. It's just constantly going out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very true. Then it kind of goes on to their evening, and I'm going to call out a little bit of random tech. I don't know if you spotted it in his kitchen. Do you know what I'm going to say?
No, I'm not sure I do.
So after the birthday party, Danny is clearing up the kitchen and he's loading the dishwasher. And the dishwasher gives him instructions.
Yes.
And I don't know if you realise this happens twice in the episode. It's not mentioned at all. At first, Danny's loading it, and I think the dishwasher tells him to unload the plate because there's too many plates in there, and he kind of groans and washes up the plate himself. So the dishwasher's talking to him. Later on in the episode, Theo loads the knives the wrong way round, and the dishwasher kind of alerts that the knives are the wrong way round, and he has to instruct him how to kind of turn it round.
Do you know what's interesting, right? And again, you know where you're in danger of reading too much into things? Because one game that Danny does play is Tetris, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering now, because shouldn't he be good at loading the dishwasher?
Yeah, that's very true. But to me, it was so random, and the fact it came up twice and not just the once.
I didn't pick it up the second time, I'll be honest with you, yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. Danny is cleaning up the kitchen. Theo comes in from putting the kids to bed. And they have a funny exchange because I feel this pain because she claims that she's had to read the same story, the same book to her kid that she has to read continuously, and they joke about it. And I feel that pain. I have read some kids' books hundreds of times out loud, so I thought that bit was quite funny. Theo then says, Danny, it's your birthday. Why don't you go and chill out and I'll finish clearing the kitchen? But she also makes a point of, I think you should see Carl more and not leave it a year. So she kind of encourages that friendship to grow. Then we cut over to Carl, who has been on a date, but he's obviously frustrated because she keeps on going on her phone.
Yeah.
And he finds this quite annoying. They even have intercourse, and a second intercourse is finished. She gets her phone out and starts doing stuff. So he gets up, gets bored, and then he goes and plays on his games console. And at that point, he finds Danny online on the game console, and they invite each other to play a game of Striking Vipers. The other point I've got written down here is maybe not relevant, but is a little bit of a pet hate, and I realise this happens today, is the size of that plastic case that hosts the SD card for the game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I saw this the other day on my nephew's DS. I think it's a DS he has. I can't remember.
It's like they're very much similar to the Switch. They're like, rather than a disc, a CD, it's like a little SD card, like you said, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like an SD card, but the case it's in is about 20 times bigger than the SD card, and that annoys me. But anyway, the same happens in this show.
So is that what really stayed with you on this episode?
Yes. Yeah. It's funny because in a world where we're trying to eradicate plastic, we've got just a massive plastic case for an SD card.
Yeah.
Anyway, rant over. So then they begin to play the Striking Vipers game. And this is obviously the first time that Danny has played this game. Cole has claimed that earlier that the game will just blow him away. They're kind of in the game. The sensation is unreal. So it's obviously strikily and physically stimulating. It's the right word, I think. But it's obviously something special. It's new technology. So Danny puts the headpieces on, or the VR set onto his head.
It's like a little chip on the side of the head, isn't it?
Very similar tech to what we've seen before, haven't we?
Yeah.
And then they come into this game, and lo and behold, Cole chooses Roxette as his character, and Danny chooses Lance. And they come into this world, obviously blown away, but they're actually physically in the world. It kind of all lines up as you would expect, like the Street Fighter Tekken to do, with like the fight, and them dancing around either side of the screen.
And I think it's just important now to clarify here. So when they're in the game, it is Ludi Lin as Lance and Pom Clementif as Roxette, but being played by Danny and Cole.
Yeah. They then kind of almost feel their way into the game, don't they? Where they kind of start punching each other, and then they realize. I think Danny then realizes that he actually feels the pain of being punched, and Carl makes a point of saying you have physical sensations in this game for what you go for, and that's obviously important at a later point. So they kind of feel their way into the first battle.
You know, when you get a new game and you just start pushing the buttons, you start testing the controllers. It was almost like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was quite cool because there was like, I think there was like a fireball type move that one of them did, wasn't there? And then Roxette did that kind of super kick, lightning kick all the time, and that was pretty cool. But then, I think they kind of do one. Do they win one fight each? I can't remember. But it gets towards the end of the fight, and they're kind of rolling about, fighting, and then obviously something takes them by surprise, and they end up actually kissing. And then when they realise kind of what's happened, they kind of freak out and both confused. They both exit the game. What's funny is Cole leaves first, doesn't he?
Yes,
and I think Danny has a second there. I don't know how to get out this game
because he's
never left before. But he manages to get out of the game, and they're both freaked out. And you can tell that over the next few days, where they try and return to kind of normal life, and they don't really get the chance to talk about what happened, do they?
No.
But yeah, obviously both confused. Anything you want to add at that point?
Just, as you said, it is all about physical sensations, because I think there's a bit where Carl as Roxette is punching Danny's character, and you see Danny. So when they put these things on their head and they go into the game, they get that classic glazed over the eyes look and almost like they're in a trance. But when he's being punched, you see him shaking on the couch as if he's actually getting the blows. The only thing I would say here, and come on to it later, is I just feel part of what I think about this episode is that just felt to come really quickly, the kiss in the game. Do you know what I mean? It felt like it was really forced, like it had to get it. They didn't want to take too much time up to set the story. And I think it just came out a bit of nowhere, which I guess is maybe part of the surprise factor. But yeah, it just felt a bit too soon.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll pass that feedback back. So then they kind of get back to normal life. I think that Danny at this point is fairly reluctant to play again.
Yeah.
Almost tries to avoid the situation. I think he may ignore a phone. I can't remember if he ignores a phone call, whether that's later, but he's obviously reluctant to play. But then at one point, it shows that they're both back online. Danny gets invited back into the game, and they both go back in the game. And there's this kind of awkward exchange, isn't there, where Danny goes, "Look, I was drunk last time." Carl goes, "Yes, so was I." And I think they both kind of made out they regretted it, but I think actually they didn't regret it. I think they were kind of saying it as a face.
Yeah, because one said that because it was after the birthday party, so they were both saying they were drunk. So it's almost like they hadn't addressed it. And so they both saying, right, he said he was drunk. Yeah, I was drunk too. Of course I was, yeah.
So then they say, right, I'm not staying on for very long, but we're definitely going to fight this time. And then what's weird about this time, and maybe this is kind of leads to the point you made about things being too quick, not a single punch was thrown in that fight, and they kind of went straight to kissing. And this time they went even further, where they had sexual intercourse. And I think it kind of cuts to them kind of then, they play multiple times, don't they? We don't see the in-between bits, but it cuts to multiple scenes where they've obviously come back into the game, and the same thing happens. They're not using it as a game anymore. They're using it as a place to hook up.
Oh, so do you think that was over multiple times? I thought it was the same time, because he gets woken up by his son, doesn't he? So I thought it was the same.
Yes, he did get woken up by his son. I assumed, because he did it multiple times, I assumed it was over multiple nights, and they were getting addicted to it.
I think they then do that. I think, there's a scene, he gets woken up by his son that first time, and then, you're right, they show it ongoing.
I think the first time they have intercourse is when his son wakes him up, and again, that just prevents him from being able to talk about what happened.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And they're kind of left on this. Last time they kissed and they couldn't talk about it. Now they've just had intercourse and they can't talk about it. But then they obviously kind of continue to keep playing on the game. Now, two things kind of happen in the real world at this point. Carl becomes less and less interested in his date. So when he's trying to have intercourse with his date, he's obviously not interested. Halfway through, just kind of stops because he's not going to be able to climax, and she just goes and does her own thing,
Well,
which I thought
she
was
says,
funny.
doesn't she goes straight onto her phone and she goes like, "Do you mind if I carry on?" And he
Yeah,
goes, "Yeah, go for it." So she's obviously watching porn on her phone.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
he should introduce her to the game, like
Yeah.
not use a phone anymore.
Yeah.
The other thing that's happening as well is Theo and Danny are actually trying for a baby,
Yes. Yeah.
and he's becoming less interested in things happening there. And I think at some point Theo kind of makes out it's been a month
Yeah.
since they've last like anything's last happening, so he's beginning to lose interest in his relationship. But then what's happening in the game is not only are they having the physical sensations, that they're also being affectionate with each other. So there is a relationship forming between the two of them. I think it gets at its worst point when Theo arranges a dinner for their anniversary
Yeah.
and texts Danny and says, "I've booked a babysitter for tonight," and he's completely forgotten it's the anniversary and
He
asks her
goes,
why.
"What for?" Yeah.
What for? So it's obviously clear there's a problem there. And then the other thing I thought was really, really interesting is when he texted Carl, he wrote the message saying, "Sorry, I can't make it tonight, anniversary." And he went to put a kiss at the end of a message,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then he deleted it. So he's obviously a confused man about what his emotions and feelings are.
Yeah, because I looked away because I was making notes at the time and I saw him put the X on it. But then when I saw Carl receive the text, it wasn't there. So it's like that classic thing. He's been caught out with his wife in the sense that he's forgotten his anniversary. And I think it felt like the natural reaction was to do that. And then he checked himself because he's realised what he's about to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's obviously a bit of I can't think of the right word, but it's obviously a bit of screwing of his mind a bit what's happening. Theo is obviously aware there's a problem and aware that Danny's head's not in the game. I think Danny has a bit of an eye-opening conversation with her, doesn't he? To the point where he kind of goes home, puts the VR set away in a box, and just ignores Cole's messages and calls after that.
Yeah, because she says they haven't had sex for weeks. And I think she's asking if he's having an affair and he says he isn't. And then doesn't she say something like, "We're trying for a baby," and he goes, "I know we're trying for a baby." And she goes, "Well, it's pretty hard when we're not having sex.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to do." And so it's clear. And then she says something interesting, doesn't she? And sorry if you were going to say it. She was asking him if he was having an affair, and she was going, "Look, just tell me," because that's what she was almost saying, like, that's what married couples do. We put that kind of crap behind us.
We sacrifice it, don't we? Yeah, I thought that was really interesting and actually quite a powerful thing to say.
Yeah, and I kind of really felt for her in that moment because she clearly loves him and just wants him to be honest with her, isn't it? Because she's starting to feel really unloved, like that she's not attractive. I think you were starting to get that impression that she was obviously blaming herself.
And because she kind of made out she's made sacrifices to commit to that marriage, like everyone does, and she doesn't feel he's doing the same at the moment. So that was a really interesting phone conversation. He obviously goes home and packs a VR set away because I think it's a bit of an eye-opener for him.
Yeah.
And then he calls Carl to end it. And I thought this phone call was interesting because Cole is obviously a little bit desperate at this point.
Really is, yeah.
And one of the lines he says, which I've written down, says, "It's like porn, and that's okay," type thing. So he's comparing what's happening to watching porn videos online, and tries to almost talk Danny into it and say, "Look, it's okay to do this. This is not breaking any rules."
And I just want to hone in on what you said. He really is desperate because he says it's not real. It's like porn. But then does he say something like, "How about we just do it once a month, like the first Sunday in a month or something?"
He's trying to compromise, isn't he?
Yeah.
Bring it back from never ever to try and get something from it. So he's obviously affected by it, and obviously so is Danny. So then it kind of cuts forward to 7 months later, and it looks like normality has been resumed. Theo is now pregnant. Danny and Theo both seem happy again. It's his birthday, And rather than the big barbecue, Theo has planned a surprise and invited Cole over for dinner, which I thought was great.
Cole couldn't wait. Do you remember? Because you see him get a text and you don't know who it is at the time, and I didn't clock it either. Yeah, he couldn't wait to get that invite from her, could he?
Yeah, he was there, and like when Danny found out, I thought his reaction was great as well. Well, what did he say? What did he say? Hoping that he just assumed that he would turn it down because that's for the
Yeah,
greater good.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but then Cole turns up for dinner, and you can just tell the whole thing is weird. Danny feels awkward. Cole just wants to get Danny by himself to talk about it, and I think Theo kind of grasped there's a problem between the two of them
Yeah.
as well. And as kind of dinner goes on, it obviously becomes more and more awkward. When Theo leaves the room, they have a heated exchange, and there are some classic comments in here with this argument. So Cole kind of describes what he's been through since finishing this arrangement they had.
Yeah.
And he said he screwed computer players, he screwed real players, he's and, and nothing he can find can match in it. And the best line he said was around I even the polar bear character. And I'm like, actually, like, I don't know what I don't know what everyone else thinks, but if you don't feel sexually satisfied, I don't know what level you get to where you think like you need to have sex with a polar bear.
That was an interesting kind of speech by him, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he's obviously addicted to it, and as he's leaving, he whispers in Danny's ear, "Meet me at midnight, and we'll play again." Anything else you want to add at this point?
No, I think that's it for that little section. Yeah.
Good. Right. So Danny's now lying in bed. He watches the clock strike midnight and he just cannot resist. He goes and gets a game out of the cupboard, gets the VR set in, and meets up in the game. Same thing begins to happen, but this time something different happens where Roxit whispers the words to him, doesn't he? I think she says first, "I love doing this with you." And then she said, "I love you," to Lance and to Danny. At this point, Danny freaks out, asks them, kind of gets angry and aggressive, starts smashing up the set of the game, and then asks Cole to meet him in real life in some sort of car park in about 20 minutes. So they both do that. They both meet physically. Danny's idea is that they should kiss in real life to see if there's a spark between them. I don't know what he hopes to achieve by doing this, but they kiss. They're both kind of relieved that there's nothing there. But I think that both Danny and Cole believes what's going to happen next is very, very different. Danny's of the lines goes, "Oh, there's nothing there. We don't have to worry about this. We can just stop doing what we're doing." Whereas Cole thinks, "Oh, there's nothing there. There's no feelings. We can just carry on having sex in the game, and everyone lives happily ever after." They then start fighting on that disagreement. The police turns up, and then the next thing you see is Theo picking up Danny from the police station, and then Theo demands answers, and then it kind of cuts to the end of the episode, whereby they leave it a little bit to the audience to kind of say what's kind of happened, but I think most of it is clear, isn't it? Whereby it looks like they're on a set day every year, which may be Danny's birthday,
Yeah.
that Danny and Cole can kind of meet up in the game, and it's kind of accepted between Danny and Theo that that's going to happen. But on Theo's side, she takes her wedding ring off and goes out for a drink by herself. And I think the assumption is there that she's doing that to meet other men and pursue dates or intercourse with other people when she's out. And they have that kind of date circled in the calendar. And then Carl also has that date circled on the calendar. And I don't know if you realise, but there's nothing else on that calendar. Just that circle.
No, I didn't pick that. Yeah, I didn't pick that up.
So that's obviously the thing he's looking forward to. And then the episode ends on that note.
I think it must be on his birthday because she gives him the VR set. It's in the chip. It's in a little box, but it's wrapped up, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
But I think it's wrapped up. And she goes, "I want that back in the morning." And he says, "So do I."
That's right. They have an exchange, don't they? Does he take the wedding ring?
I think he must take the wedding ring because she goes, I want this back in the morning or something. And he goes, yes, or so do I. And I can't remember I didn't see what she does with the ring. But yeah, basically the thing there is that they both know it's for one night only.
Yeah. So let's begin to unpack. How long have we got?
Sorry, one thing you did miss, the funky pinball machine that Carl had.
Oh
Did you
yeah,
see
yeah,
that?
yeah. That was pretty
It's
cool,
like a
wasn't it?
hologram, isn't it?
And he
And
kind of swiped.
changes.
He swiped it,
Yeah,
didn't he, to get a different game?
I really want one of those.
Yeah.
I really want one of those. Yeah, I guess where do we start? It's an interesting one. I just want to pick up something you said about when Danny said he wanted to kiss. You said about what's that going to do? I do wonder if he just needed that to know whether he fancied Carl or had feelings for Carl or the character. And I think it's really interesting to break this down because I just don't know how to approach this. On the surface, you've got two friends feel like they're having an affair with each other. But I think as it goes on, I get the feeling that maybe Danny is more, basically it makes it clear that he's attracted to Roxette and not Cole.
Interesting. Do you think it's different for Cole then?
I think Cole, I don't know if it's basically because he just keeps having these unfulfilling encounters with young women
True.
who
Yeah.
he's got nothing in common with. Yeah, there's even that joke with the first one where he says something, I can't remember, he talks about Dennis Rodman and she goes, what's a Rodman? And has to look it up on Google or something. So I think Danny needed to do that to understand, did he have feelings for Cole or was it Roxette? And that made it clear that the feelings were for Roxette.
Okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it.
So the question I have for you is, was he, Danny, was he being unfaithful? What do we think?
I think he is being unfaithful. I think, most of the time, if you have to lie to your significant other or you keep something
Yeah.
from them, I think that's where the line is for cheating. And you could argue that there's loads of things you don't tell your partner, but you're deliberately not telling them this because you know that it will hurt them. So I think I see it as being unfaithful. And the other reason why I see it as being unfaithful, because it's not just about the feeling of sex in this game. They're also cuddling up and talking about their emotions and their feelings. That even if they didn't have the sex bit, I think that bit's being unfaithful as well because they're having that close bond where they're almost kind of like falling for each other a little bit. And it's weird, isn't it? Because they could cuddle up in real life. Like that sensation is going to be the same, isn't it? They can still be close physically in real life without having sex, but they're doing it in the game. Yeah. So to me, I think he's being unfaithful.
Yeah, I went through a few stages of this. So what number one is, as you said, if you're hiding it from someone, then that's a big red flag or a big warning sign, I guess, isn't it? Then I was thinking, is it because it's a computer game, it's virtual? The interesting factor here is there is physical sensation in this, isn't it? So it's not just that their avatars are having sex in a game. They are experiencing that, aren't they? Because I think there's an interesting conversation where Danny in the game, Danny asks Carl what it's like, how he feels having sex because he's now a female in the game.
Yeah.
And I think there's a conversation. So, like you said, there are feelings, and you're a really good point. What you're saying is that it's not just they meet up, have sex, and then exit the game. They're then in each other's arms.
Yeah. So it's more than transactional, isn't it? It's got feeling to it.
But what I would say to you, and I saw this in an article, so I'm not going to claim I saw it, but they're in a fighting game. So if in the game they beat each other up or they kill each other in the game, we wouldn't look at them and think, well, they're murderers.
But they're not really killing. Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I see your
but
point.
they're not
They're not really killing each other, though, are they? But I see your point. Is why is killing different in a game to killing in real life as opposed to sex in the game and sex in real life?
I think it's all about because there's emotion.
I think it's the emotion, isn't it, that makes it different.
That's exactly because we know that they're friends. They'll kill if they beat each other up to a pulp. The next round starts and they're back to normal. But it's the emotions that linger, isn't it? And it's the emotions that they're getting addicted to. And yeah, obviously Cole must obviously like his friend, and that's the interesting thing because he said, yeah, he was having sex with lots of other people playing the same character as Danny, but it wasn't the same.
Wasn't the same, and maybe that's because of the 20 to 30 years of friendship. So that the bonding in that way.
But I think that's the thing. I think the fact that they were very close friends because they were like flatmates, weren't they? I think at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just has there been that like that? I think you're meant to wonder has there been like that underlying bond between them that then spilled over. And but kind of just going back to the whole isn't a fair thing and the kiss. It's obviously clear though that for weeks and weeks and weeks, Danny was getting more distance from his wife and wasn't having sex with his wife, but was with Roxette. Now he kisses Cole, and there's absolutely nothing there. That was a good scene, wasn't it? Because they both kiss each other, and then they're like, "Yeah, there's nothing there, is there?" You know, and they, you think, right, that's it, they're going to part, and then they get into the fight. But the fact is, he obviously has a thing for Roxette, so that's what I'm thinking. I think he's definitely been unfaithful because why is he finding it easy to have sex with Roxette, but clearly isn't interested in that with Cole, but then leaves his wife alone. Just see what I'm trying to say? I'm finding that bit the struggle, and that's what I think this episode does really well.
Yeah, it's like it's the emotional attachment. If it was just about the sex, I think he wouldn't become emotionally detached from his wife. But I think it's because he begins to have feelings for someone else and he can't make sense of it.
Yeah, and there's also really brilliant throwback for what they do to the beginning of the episode because you know when they're playing the strangers at the bar, he says, "Oh, I've learned my baby loves role playing." Well, that's what him and
Yeah,
Carl are doing, right?
yeah, that's true.
So it's really interesting.
The other funny scene I thought was the first time when they have sex, and then as a kind of like after it's happened, the first thing that Cole or Roxette says, "Guess we're gay now." like just kind of like
Yeah,
summarize the
yeah.
whole thing because our sexuality's changed now. We're obviously gay, and I thought that was quite obviously saying as a flippant comment, but I thought that was quite funny.
Sorry, I've just been thinking about the ending as well now, right? Because once a year, Danny goes and does this thing, and it's like, so he's got that thing, he can't stay away from Roxette. But then you've actually got his wife, then, is actually going out to have an affair. And it's like, it's odd, isn't it? Because she's going out to have the physical affair, and he's doing the online affair. It's such a.
It's obviously a little bit different because yes, it is a difficult concept because I think what she's doing I would classify as more cheating, but actually because it's obviously a mutual understanding, it's kind of okay, and some couples are like that. But what she's going further than what her husband is doing. So it is. I'm not sure I'd be happy with that because it's the equivalent. So just he's compared it to watching porn, didn't he? At some point, and just say that
Well, Cole did, I think, didn't he?
Cole
Yeah.
compared it to watching porn. Now imagine if you were married and your partner says to you, "It's okay for you to go and watch porn, but I'm going to go out and sleep with someone." It's
But
it's,
that's the
it's,
thing.
it's like two
No,
different.
but that's the thing. When we're looking at the program, we can think that, but he is going into a game and he is feeling everything.
Yeah,
So that's where it gets complicated because he is, in his mind, he is having sex with a person. Oh, it's such an interesting one, isn't it? What it doesn't do, and we've often talked about sometimes the ending not always being overly informative. And for me, what I want to know is for the other 300 odd days of the year, 360 odd days of the year, are Danny and Theo happy? Are they having a relationship or not?
and
That's what we don't
also,
know.
yeah, I agree. And the other thing I thought, do Danny and Cole meet up in person anymore and be friends, or does this kind of put an end to
Yeah,
their friendship in real life to pursue this one night a
yeah,
year
yeah.
escapism?
Yeah, I know you, like we said, you're not always supposed to get all the answers, but the fact they're still together, as in Danny and Theo, and when they exchange the things, they're actually okay, aren't they? It's not like they're angry or sad or distant. They're almost joking about it, aren't they? Like she goes, "I want that back in the morning." He says, "So do
Well, I
I."
think
She's the fact she's wrapped it up.
I feel like it's the point they're now happy, and that looks
Yeah,
apart
yeah,
from when she was pregnant. I think that's the happiest they've been. But do you want to hear my alternate ending? And we sometimes do this
All right,
quite a
let's do
few
it. Yeah.
times. But here's my alternate ending, or whether it's the ending or the story would fork off in a different way. I think it would have been great is if when Theo and Danny are struggling, Danny kind of storms off in a rage out of a house somewhere. Theo is now kind of roaming around the house, a bit fed up, a bit emotional. The games console's been left on, and it comes up on the screen. Cole is inviting you to play this game. What if Theo then put the VR set on and played as Danny, then experienced exactly what was happening, and kind of the penny dropped, but she experienced it as well, and then kind of almost kind of went along with it,
That's even more brain twisting
isn't
than the
it?
actual.
But
Yeah.
that would be brilliant because it depends how would Theo put a stop to it. Would she let it happen? Would she go out for revenge? And Cole doesn't know any different. He just knows that Danny's username is playing the game,
Yeah, and she could keep logging in.
and she could pursue
Danny's
an affair.
yeah.
And then
So
he gets
Danny
annoyed about it.
or Danny maybe doesn't know. So like, imagine he doesn't know, and she just logs on at night as him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. He should have just stuck to playing Tetris. That's ultimately the bottom line.
Safe game Tetris.
Yeah. No, look, it's a really good episode. And I think the three main, well, actually, we could probably say the five main actors, but the three main actors, Danny, Carl, and Theo, I think were brilliant in this again. I would say I enjoyed it. The one, like I said, the one criticism I have is just how, compared to sort of like how Danny was in terms of confronting it, how quickly certain things happened in the game. That's the only issue I had. Okay, I had just a couple of other things. Was there anything else about the episode?
The only thing I've got, and we've mentioned this before, I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes when he was going to play the game, he was going from a world that was very dull in colours to a world which was very bright in colours, and that's meant to kind of signify the escapism of what he was doing. He was escaping to this vibrant,
Yeah, you spot
exciting
that
world.
a lot, don't you? You spot that a
I
lot.
actually read this one somewhere, but it did make sense.
Yeah. Because we said that they definitely make him look fed up when it goes 11 years ahead, doesn't it? Yeah. I had a couple of things, and there's some Easter eggs. I've got that. So I'm laughing because this is funny. The reason, or I think one of the reasons he created this, or the idea came from it, Brooker was reflecting on his days of playing Tekken with flatmates in the 90s. He thought that his neighbours would confuse their gaming sessions for a sex dungeon based on the noises they made while they were playing. And it's funny because I remember, God, years ago, I was in with a group of people playing Call of Duty or FIFA, and you'd have I'd have the headset on, so it'd be quiet, and then I'd be randomly shouting or swearing because of something. And I used to think, I wonder what the neighbours would think, where they just hear me randomly shouting or swearing every now and then. And the initial concept for the episode was going to be for a group of office workers to spend time in a virtual reality simulation as part of a team building exercise where they would prepare to perform the musical Grease. As part of the exercise, each employee's identity within the simulation would be unknown, and the idea was going to be that two employees were going to have an affair within the simulation. Sorry, before I go on to Easter eggs, I wanted to throw at you was, so I mentioned at the start, the director did Be Right Back and San Junipero. When you look online, a lot of people do compare the episodes, and I think it's unfair because, okay, at heart, you've got two people of the same sex with avatars having a relationship. But like I said, I think this is very much a different episode. San Junipero, there was it was more of a fun and warmth, and it was about people that were on their way, dying and trying to fulfill a life they never had. Whereas this feels more like almost like like we're seeing with meta and virtual worlds, more like how people are approaching kind of relationships in an online world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you think there was kind of like, when you're watching it, that there was any similarities? Or
And I think this one, the bit kind of the other two films didn't kind of the other two films. Sorry, the episode about San Junipero wasn't I don't think there was really the taboo subject of is he cheating or being unfaithful or
Yeah,
not, well,
yeah.
like this one does. I guess you could talk about the sexuality one, but that never really kind of come up, did it, in that episode? That wasn't really a debate.
No, no.
Um,
Yeah, so it's a totally different
yeah,
approach to a similar story, I guess. But
yeah.
I didn't pick up any of these, but did you get any Easter eggs?
Only that the polar bear could have been the white bear. That's the only kind of link I got.
Do you know what? I didn't write this, but yes, you're right. I spotted somewhere else where they did say that. Oh,
Yeah,
I've got it here. Sorry. Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, sorry. When the younger Danny and Carl are playing Striking Vipers, one of the game characters briefly shown on the screen is a polar bear. This is an ongoing reference to White Bear.
yeah,
The other ones I had is a VR headpiece used is the same as the one from USS Callister.
yeah.
Ludi Lin, who plays Lance in Striking Vipers, played Liu Kang in the Mortal Kombat film of 2021.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When Carl gives Danny the copy of Striking Vipers X for his birthday, it says in the upper left corner that the game was made by Saito Gemu, which was the video game company in playtest.
Yeah.
And Carl presents his buddy with the VR system, and the box says TCKR, which is the same company that created the virtual reality in San Junipero. So
Oh,
we've
okay.
got that link there. Right, on to the important bit. What score are you giving this?
Like I said at the start, I don't know if I enjoyed this the most, but this is definitely the one that stuck with me the most. So I'm a bit confused about my score. I think it is above 9.
You
Yeah,
think it's above 9, yeah?
yeah, I think it's above 9. Like if someone had never watched Black Mirror and they came to me and said, "Oh, I'm thinking about watching it. What do you suggest?" I would suggest this episode first because I think this is the one that's the most messed up. So on that basis, I'm going to give it a 9.4.
Wow, okay. That makes it your second highest episode.
What's my first?
Be right back.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that.
Puts it just behind Be Right Back at 9.5 and above White Christmas at 9.2 and USS Callister at 9.1.
Okay, yeah, I think I'm happy with that decision.
So sorry, so what did you say?
9.4.
9.4. I love your use of the point system. I don't know about this. I love the concept and the fact that we've spoken. I think one of the episodes where we've done the dive at the end more than some of the other episodes, I think, just shows it is a great episode and the concepts. For me, it's just the way it felt some of the storyline was rushed and yeah, I just wish there was a bit more of the ending. I say I'm giving it a high score, but I say I'm giving it 8.5. Yeah, I definitely think it's one. If you had to have a group of episodes where you said I want to watch Black Mirror, recommend me sort of 3 or 4 episodes, it would definitely be in that because I think it's got it all. It's got the technology, it's got the emotion, and the basically the moral intrigue, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was just thinking what you just mentioned the word ending, and it's just triggered a thought. And I probably should have said this earlier. But the ending where they kind of come up with that agreement, it would have been quite interesting to see how they got to that agreement, wouldn't it? Because
Yeah,
and
yeah.
see the emotional roller coaster that he went through in allowing his wife to go out and be with other men. I think that you could have written another 20 minutes, 30 minutes based on that bit, couldn't you? The kind of the resolution, how they got to that point.
Yeah, because you do wonder, did he mind? Because if it meant he was going to go into that game once a year for that, maybe he was.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's one rule for me and one rule for everyone else. I just wonder he would have found that a difficult thing to come to terms with. But it would have been interesting to see that journey because it's obviously a year after they kind of originally talked about it.
Yeah, but yeah, we're getting back onto it, aren't we? But I guess so. That just shows: did he really care for his wife anymore, or is it because they've got 2 kids now? Yeah, and if he left her, what would he have done?
Yeah, live in the game, just not
Possibly,
come out.
possibly. But sorry, just one thing. Yeah, it just came into mind. It's that classic thing where he's obviously got a fancy game system, but he's playing Tetris on it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, so
I know I keep mentioning the Tetris.
There's that, isn't it? It's one extreme to the other. And the other thing I thought, what computer company in the world releases a game where this is even possible? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what are Street Fighter games? Like 12s, 15s? Like, it just wouldn't be possible.
This is the company that invented the thing in playtest, right?
Yeah,
we know what that did.
But in the USS Callister, all those characters couldn't feel that sort of stuff because they were all kind of blanked out, didn't they? We didn't have any of their organs.
Yeah.
So what is this computer game company thinking of?
That's true, actually. That's true. All right, look, is there anything else you want to...
No, that's be done.
Next episode is going to be Season 5, Episode 2, Smithereens. Before I go, I just want to shout out Just Football, which is our other podcast. So I want to shout that out. I want to shout out the PodPack Collective and Seismic Cinema and Two Girls, One Reasonable Cup, because I know that they often leave sort of comment on these episodes. So thank you for listening to this. I can't wait to hear what you thought about our view on this. And yeah, we'll see you next week for Smithereens.
1, 2, 3, 4. If I want your opinion, I will give it to you. Come on, take what we've got, 'cause you need it. Don't make us get a spark and proceed it. Come on,